Welcome to our survey of Genesis, chapters 6 to 11. In this video, we'll explore the monumental events of the flood, God's promise, and the building of the Tower of Babel, as depicted in these foundational chapters. Genesis chapter 6 is a crucial narrative highlighting God's holiness, justice, and grace. We'll break down the chapter into three main sections: the corruption of humanity, God's grief and judgment, and His grace shown through Noah and the ark. The chapter begins by describing a world filled with widespread wickedness. A key point of discussion revolves around the identity of the sons of God and the Nephilim. There are three primary conservative interpretations: the fallen angel view, the Sethite view, and the royalty view. Please pause the video now to reference those views. While I never dismiss the supernatural nature of God, I hold to the Sethite interpretation of Genesis chapter 6 verses 1 to 4. Pre- and post-contextual clues, along with scriptural references, support this view. The reference to giants can be explained by close to perfect DNA from the time of Adam. We also learn that the Nephilim exist in the post-flood era in Numbers 13, and with the existence of Goliath and other giants of Gath. We even see examples of giants and gigantism today in the genetic makeup of man. Andre the Giant is a good example of this. This would make a cause that the genetic makeup for such beings was even carried by Noah and his family. For the scriptural references, please press pause and look through the scriptures yourself. Beyond the biblical canon, other ancient texts, like the Book of Enoch, offer expanded views on the Nephilim. These texts describe fallen angels, known as watchers, who procreated with human women, resulting in destructive giants that corrupted the earth and led to the Great Flood. Parallels to the Nephilim narrative can be found in various mythologies. Mesopotamian myths feature semi-divine sages and heroes, while Greek mythology includes demigods like Heracles. Canaanite and Hittite lore also describe gods fathering children with mortals, reflecting similar themes. While we know these are false narratives, we do know that most mythologies will try to take a grain of truth and expand on it. Modern secular theories offer alternative bogus explanations for the Nephilim. These include the ancient astronaut theory, which suggests extraterrestrial intervention as made famous by the History Channel and Ancient Aliens. Another secular idea is of a lost species of hominid, or the concept of survivors from an advanced, pre-flood civilization like Atlantis. Again, these theories are of great speculation, no known fact, and is completely unbiblical. God's grief and judgment are central to verses 6 and 7. The Bible states God was sorry that He had made man. This is understood as an anthropomorphism, expressing God's profound sorrow over sin, not an admission of a mistake. This grief leads to the judgment of a global flood. Amidst the wickedness, Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. His righteousness, a gift of God's grace, set him apart. God commanded Noah to build an ark with specific instructions. Noah's obedience is a hallmark of faith, and the ark symbolizes salvation. Genesis chapter 7 opens with God's final command for Noah to enter the ark, emphasizing salvation based on Noah's recognized righteousness. Noah was instructed to take 7 pairs of clean animals for sacrifice and food after the ark had settled, and 1 pair of every unclean animal, demonstrating God's order and Noah's obedience. After a 7-day wait, the flood began from 2 sources: the bursting forth of subterranean waters and a torrential 40-day downpour. A pivotal moment is when the Lord shut him in, signifying God's protection, the finality of His judgment, and that salvation is secured by God alone. One day in the future, the door to our salvation, reference John chapter 10 verse 9, will shut. The flood's global scale is emphasized. Waters covered all high mountains, rising over 22 feet above the highest peaks. This resulted in the destruction of all land-dwelling, air-breathing life not on the ark. The waters prevailed for 150 days, with Noah's ark floating as a symbol of God's grace. There are 3 major theories concerning the flood of Noah. The biblical theory is that it was a global flood, as can be attested to by the text itself. The other theory is a localized flood in Mesopotamia. This, however, is an error, due to the textual context and results of the post-flood world. There is also the Black Sea hypothesis, made famous by Walter Pittman, William Ryan, and Petko Dimitrov, which states that the Mediterranean flooded, spilled its banks over the Bosporus, and created the Black Sea. They believe that the flood accounts are just the recording of this event. Genesis chapter 8 opens with the comforting phrase, "But God remembered Noah." This signifies God acting to fulfill His promise of salvation. God sent a wind to recede the waters, and the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The Ark of Noah has yet to be found. Noah patiently tested the earth's condition. He first sent a raven, which did not return. Then he sent a dove, which returned, finding no dry land. The second dove returned with an olive leaf, symbolizing new life. The third dove did not return, signaling the earth was dry. After disembarking, Noah's first act was to build an altar and offer sacrifices, expressing gratitude and atonement. God responded with the Noahic covenant, promising never again to curse the ground or destroy life with a flood. He also guaranteed the continuation of natural cycles. Genesis chapter 9 begins with God blessing Noah and his sons, renewing the command to multiply. New provisions included permission to eat animals, with a prohibition against consuming blood. God also established capital punishment for murder, foundational to human government and the sanctity of life, which is sacred because humans are made in the imago Dei, the image of God. God formalized the Noahic covenant with the rainbow as an eternal sign against another global flood. The rainbow is an unconditional promise made by our God, not to be mocked, but to be held to. It should also serve as a reminder of God's righteous judgment and grace. The chapter then reveals the sin of Ham, who dishonored his father Noah's nakedness, contrasting with Shem and Japheth's respectful actions. This shows sin remained after the flood. Noah prophesied the future of his sons. He cursed Canaan, Ham's son, which was a specific prophecy of future servitude, not a justification for racism, as shamefully some theologians have held to in the past. Shem received a blessing, indicating the messianic line. Japheth was promised enlargement, interpreted as wide dispersion, and sharing in Shem's spiritual blessings. Genesis chapter 10, the Table of Nations, meticulously outlines the lineages of Noah's 3 sons. It establishes the unity of the human race, demonstrating that all nations descended from one family. This chapter is seen as a literal and historically accurate account, setting the stage for Abraham. Japheth's descendants are presented first, believed to have migrated north and west, populating areas like Asia Minor and Europe. This lineage includes ancestors of Indo-European peoples, fulfilling Noah's prophecy that God would enlarge Japheth through vast geographical dispersion. Ham's descendants migrated south into Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, and Mesopotamia. This line includes prominent adversaries of Israel. Nimrod, a descendant of Cush, modern-day Ethiopia, is notable as a powerful, rebellious tyrant who founded the first human-centered empire. The line of Canaan is also crucial for later biblical history. Shem's line is presented last, being the most important redemptive historically. It narrows the focus to the lineage from which God's covenant people would come, leading to Abraham and ultimately the Messiah. Figures like Eber and Peleg are highlighted, with Peleg's name linked to the division at Babel. You can see the dispersion of Noah's children here, on this map of the Table of Nations. The Tower of Babel story in Genesis chapter 11 highlights a pivotal moment in human history, demonstrating humanity's rebellion and God's sovereign intervention. United in rebellion, humanity sought to build a city and a tower to make a name for ourselves, defying God's command to fill the earth. This act was prideful, disobedient, and idolatrous. God judged their sin by confusing their language, scattering them, and thwarting their unified rebellion. After the scattering of nations, Genesis chapter 11 focuses on the lineage of Shem, meticulously tracing 10 generations to Abram. This deliberate theological move shows God's plan of redemption, narrowing from universal humanity to a particular family, setting the stage for Abraham's call and the next phase of redemptive history.